here and look address because
I can help you, you wanna stay that.
Right, that's what all your trip. I would too.
school district
So you guys just want me to pick you up at school here at
calendar
2
has
Tuesday?
Yeah, probably.
That work?
Tesla.
Megan riding with us?
Just had nice.
No, she's coming up.
Come one the next day.
Yeah.
Just you two are
Yes,
coming,
sir.
Just like a newsletter?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, have an
Is
expedition.
it annual?
Yeah, it's from July, I think it's the midsummer one they send out.
No, you know, it is my vehicle too.
What time is your thing up there?
Yeah, it has
Tuesday
an
night.
application for
You get,
benefits.
Sorry?
it's phase 1, 2,
Huh.
3.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Nine.
next
6
week,
o'clock.
like,
6.
to 9. Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
I had it in my bag for a while, I forgot to show it.
So, can you take action at the meeting? I saw you, okay, you can't.
It's on the meeting for January 21st, right?
Okay,
So it's
it's a regularly scheduled
work session.
work session, but not an action.
Fold and go in there.
Yell at it, mad, get angry.
That's where we're at today. Just function.
Yeah.
I gotta get one of those things for the cruise.
It's about this much investigating too. I asked one question and all that.
How you doing, Tim?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Feel better today?
I feel okay till I get to a certain part of the day and then just.
I sound worse, but I feel better.
You sound pretty bad. Somebody came in last night to talk and said, this is my singing, or my sexy singing voice. I don't think they bought it though.
So we live and record.
We are streaming out.
Alright, let's see, it's 5 o'clock, I thought I heard somebody.
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, we can, 5 o'clock, we can call it to order. We can start with our roll call. Gregson here.
Emperor here.
Teal here.
Wall here.
Erickson here.
Warner here.
Alright, then we'll stand for our pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It looks like we can flow right into our new business and we can bring up and welcome Shelby from Ellers here. And great to see you in the new building.
Yeah.
It's great to see you in person.
I know, right? So KA was also designed White Bear where my kids go, so they used a lot of the same elements, so it's kind of fun to see, like, you know,
See it in the works.
yeah, just every, so. All right, so, we had some conversations with, Tim over the last, few weeks, and then also with, Jordan to make sure that we're on track there. Just making sure that we're matching everything, so, part of, what we'll talk about tonight is just overall the capital facilities bond, which is an authority that the board has to issue to pay for anything really under operating capital. There's a few steps that you'll need to take through that as part of that issuance. So you'll recall, as part of the voter approved, you needed to get voter approved authority. As part of the abatement bond, you needed to have a public hearing. And then for this capital facilities, we need to publish notice in the paper, and then we'll need to also request approval from MDE. So part of those steps, and then what we just are wanting to kind of talk through overall is just maybe how that fits into the overall dynamic of the cost overages, and that this isn't going to be the complete solution, but we'll certainly get part of the way there. So just a couple notes through this. Again, the capital facilities bond is board approved. You do get operating capital based on your square footage and age, and then pupils. So that is just really going to go nearly to zero, right? Because you have a brand new building, you don't have any age to your building. So we're gonna start getting very, it's gonna reduce your levy overall, good, but it's just a portion, it's gonna shrink in terms of what you have annually in terms of operating capital. But we're gonna use most of that operating capital every year and then issue a bond against future revenues, and that's what you'll use to pay for a portion of the project costs. So there's no additional levy associated with this, but as soon as that levy that you're already levying for operating capital turns into a bond, you'll start picking up the ag credit for that. So it's somewhat beneficial overall for the ag properties there, and nice to bring in some state aid too, so. But no additional, and we're gonna use existing revenues, which is not, it doesn't, sort of solves one problem and then at the same time minorly creates another, because you're not gonna have a whole lot of inflows to use on everyday costs. So the timeline is the next page, so I kind of mentioned a few of these steps, but we've really spent the last few months making a final determination on those cost overages, and you've really held off on paying those bills. There's a sort of a reimbursement in place, so we're really just gonna use these bond funds to pay the project costs. So so once that's issued, then you'll have about $600,000 available to make payments on those bills that you have outstanding and that you've had outstanding. So on January 21st, you'll authorize the issuance of bonds. And there's an official resolution to that, and then you'll publish notice in the paper. So we have that, we'd like that kind of the day after. And there's a few constraints with this. So a capital facilities bond is the only bond in statute or authority a voter, the voters have to, or the board has, that actually has a countdown, so 30 days for the public to petition. So we need to get that 30 days counting before we actually award the bonds. And so once that's published in the notice, we'll be able to move forward on the steps to issue the bonds. So you'll publish notice of that intent, we'll ask MDE for approval, we'll get the resolution going on the award. I've actually had, and Tim directed me to work with Security State Bank, Dave Thompson there, so we've had some initial conversations and talked a little bit about format, structure, about what the terms of that would be. We'll just kind of look at that in the context of current market conditions and make sure that's a good situation for the district. So we'll just run some numbers against what they're looking at too, and come to a good resolution there. And if we can't, we'll then go out to the larger market, but they've been a good partner for the district, so I see no reason why it wouldn't be a good.
If you don't have to go to the open market, you're saying, you can go to the private market?
Yep, so you have the authority to negotiate or go competitively for a bond, and with this size and the small maturities each year, it would make sense to just work with your local bank, because you're not incurring the additional cost of issuance of like an additional rating and working with an underwriter, so.
So how does our bond rating reduction factor into that?
It won't in
Okay.
this case,
Perfect.
they'll give you, and they were looking at, the bank was looking at about 4.5%, so it won't be considered as part of the rating. We'll disclose this to the markets too, but your rating will factor in terms of the rate that the bank is willing to provide. They
Okay.
work with you on a sort of a different level.
So we can choose the bank, or we have to put out the
You can
multiple banks?
you're choosing the bank, and
Okay.
you've directed me to
Okay.
work with, First Security.
If there's other local banks interested, is that up to us, I guess?
Yeah, then you wanna let us know, I don't wanna have a role in placing that, so I want you to direct me to do that.
Okay.
I was trying to understand the
Yep.
flow of it all.
Yep, good, that's what I'm here for, so yeah. The one feature, and we'll dig into this a little bit more, the feature that they want is to have it reset after about 5 years. So, so it's not gonna be like a locked-in interest rate. I was asking it in the context of, can you prepay it? So, right, if you build up a fund balance over time, can we just get rid of this debt so you can now use your operating capital money to pay operating capital needs instead of debt? But in that context, we talked about the rate reset. Now, I don't know that that's all bad right now, given where we think rates would go in 5 years, probably not up, right? So that may be a good bet for the district.
How many years?
15 year.
15 years?
Yep. Yeah, we needed it that long to get the annual payment down under what we expect your operating capital to be. Because your operating capital will be low now because you won't have any age to your
And
building.
if it's less than that, we take it out of our general fund to pay.
There's
them?
actually a restriction on it,
Okay.
so you cannot borrow more than your operating capital. Yep. So it's pretty narrow, and that's why we can't solve the whole negative fund balance with this solution, because you just don't have enough money coming from operating capital.
What did you say, they did say we can pay early, or we can't pay early?
Yep, you'll be able to prepay after 5 years.
Okay.
After 5 years.
Yeah, it was, and that's the terms that will, this is what I'm not locking the bank into this at all. This is just an initial discussion that we had. But there usually is a prepayment penalty that's before 5 years, so, which doesn't always make sense. And frankly, your cash flow position does not provide for that in the next 5 years.
Right.
So.
What is the total negative?
I have that on the next page.
Okay.
Yep, so we'll go right into that.
So do you have one question?
Yep,
The January 24th, board adopts a resolution, the next day you post in the paper.
so, yeah,
And then at the same time, do we subsequently go to MDE for approval too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so
I'll
when
go
does
look
your
through
paper
this.
publish? And when do you,
What day of the week does it publish?
What? But it has to be in by Monday, yeah.
Okay.
it has to be in by Monday?
Yeah,
Yes.
publishes Tuesday.
Okay,
So
So-
we'll get it in, our board meeting's on a Wednesday, we'll get that in Thursday morning right away.
yep, and then it'll publish the following Wednesday. So we don't allow enough time between the January meeting and the February meeting to meet that 30-day window. So we'll either then ask you to call like a special meeting in February, or we'll just wait and do it at the next meeting.
I don't think there'd be a problem calling a special meeting.
Okay. So yeah, we just sort of needed to award the sale to, once we hone in on the parameters of that, with the bank.
What's the process? Shall we have somebody petitions?
You just can't, you wouldn't issue, you would have to go to voters to issue, so.
So it doesn't matter, you petition,
The petition is pretty well constrained in statute, they would have to follow all of those guidelines, so.
it just can't be a simple come in and complaint. I don't know what the best way to word it, but it has to, you have to have more protocol or no official petition.
Yeah,
so to speak.
yeah, I would have to cross-reference that statute, but, yeah. They couldn't just come to you and say, I petition.
Okay,
Right,
yeah, I thought
right.
it makes clear, so.
That's the office joke, right? I declare vacancy.
Yeah. I declare.
So yeah, there is a process for that, so that's why we would abide by that, not awarding before that time period is up. Yep. But we're looking to have the funds available, close to the beginning of March. March 5th is where, if we we'll work with the bank, that'll be part of the terms of working with the bank. So yeah, that sort of gets us to that next, we're looking at borrowing the $665 on behalf of the district, we'll have that term in place. There's minimal legal and fiscal costs associated with that, the bank's fee is included in there. We'll have it credit enhanced, so we can still do that even if we don't have a rating, you'll be part of that credit enhancement program, meaning that the state would step in if you can't pay your bill. You're never in that position, we're watching that with Jordan all the time, and of course Stacy is doing a great job. And then the amount available for project costs, I have a number in there that's too high, but the initial deposit to the construction fund is $640 is what we're anticipating right now. That $885 was sort of tied into some fund balance, we'll talk about on the next page, but $640,000.
Term of 16, what's that mean for 15-year loan?
Yeah, so the first levy will be on in taxes payable 27, and so that's the statutory term or the limit, 15 levies. But because we're we would actually close on in March, like the term itself would be about,
Okay,
would about be 16 years. Is the first payment on the next levy, by the time you get to that.
okay, cause the money wouldn't be coming,
Yep,
gotcha.
yep, so you'll actually use a portion of your operating capital that you have already levying to make that first payment. So.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and then, so let me, we're bumping up right against that limit of what you have right now, so if you grow your pupils, if your pupils increase, you'll create capacity in your operating capital to pay your everyday needs there too, so.
What's our annual payment?
It's, gosh, I had that number, I didn't print it out. I think it's about 50,000 is what we were estimating, and we were kind of waiting for the bank number.
Okay,
Yeah, the bank rate. So we'll rerun those and have those at the January meeting where we'll have more refined numbers of what we can anticipate. So, like I said, that solves just a portion of this negative fund balance, and this next page is keying off of where your conversation was with Jordan. So he presented this chart, and I just pulled it right out of his report. And you'll see that construction negative balance of $2 million. So right now, you can kind of think of your general fund, Fund 1, kind of sitting very narrowly but positive, right? And then this construction fund over to the side that we're trying to solve for. And we've solved for 640,000 of it through an issuance of a bond, so then that number drops. But the next step would then be like, how do you close that out? Like, it can't just stay negative. So then what are the next steps to sort of reconcile that, close out your Fund 6, which is your construction account? Make that zero, and the way you make it zero is you pay for it out of your Fund 1. So,
You said 665, but or would that be the 640?
640,
Okay.
yep, you have about 640 there.
And that's, then the
So-
solved amount would be 640, right?
Yep, so you're solving, so you're still leaving about 1.3, 1.4 unsolved, right? We don't have a solution for that, so you just have to pay it out of your general fund, which you don't have all of that in terms of just balance, right, savings.
But is that money we owe?
Yep.
Where's that owed to? I mean, it's in the fund only, but we paid those bills.
You have not paid those bills.
I'm a little confused.
You've paid a portion of those, so it's the accounting versus the actual negative, right? It's the accounting that they're sitting there. They know that, you have to pay them, so you can't say that you have, you can't just leave them sitting there, right? You have to just pay them, and so something has to be negative. So,
Were you confused on the amount or the?
Well, just find out that was working, so you basically paid the bills, just the accounting ledger?
you haven't paid the 665
No, yeah.
that we're, yeah.
This eight,
So-
or this 885 we're short for paying total bills?
Don't scratch out the 885, that was sort of
Is that
a residual of something else we were kind of working through.
665?
Yep, 660, or the
Yep.
640, right, after the
Yep.
640,
How much, what total do we owe contractors?
2 million is what you, and that, so we were working through it, I'm not gonna say that's 100% of what you owe, cause you may, no, I think it's what you owe, those are negative, those are outstanding.
When I asked Andy what's left to owe contractors, it's about 800 some thousand.
Yeah,
Is the report he gave us, that's what, I'm confused with the two
Yeah.
numbers too.
I'm the
I
same.
am too.
and so, so this goes to my inexperience on that business side, so I'm trusting what, I'm like trying to recite here what Jordan and Beth are saying between what we've said is a negative versus what is, or like what we have to owe versus what is actually been paid. So a culmination of that is the 2 million. So 2 million is sitting in as a negative in the construction fund. And that is the 885 of yet to be paid bills. versus some that are
So who paid those bills up to this point then? That
the
they-
district. It's made those.
So we did pay them.
Yeah, we stopped paying,
Yeah.
stopped paying when I came on board.
Yep.
Until we could get more of a handle on budget. So, at this time, what contracts have not been paid out so far are 80 something.
Yeah.
So really, it's, at some point, that fund, even though they were being paid, was going into, like, we were paying into the negative.
Yep.
Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, so we were paying
We're
bills
paying,
without
like-
actual money in the fund.
Exactly, so we were paying, but we were taking money out of a different,
We paid, we
Fund
were taking out
balance.
other funds.
Yeah.
Okay, so still for Peter to pay Paul, but now we gotta get that fund balance to zero, so can't we just reimburse or?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
If the
I mean-
money's still there.
Right, that's what we have to, I mean, you're gonna pay it, but you also have your bills on you have payroll that you have to then pay. So first we sort of look to savings, right? How much do you have just sitting in reserve accounts? And that's unassigned and operating capital. So we're gonna resolve that negative through a combination of issuing a bond and using balances. So savings, right? So you have a large balance on LTFM, but these are not replacements, right? You built a new building, so you cannot use any of that money. And think of it, okay, right, like the cash is there, but when you actually go to assign which cash you're taking, you can't use the LTFM. So you have the money to like
We're restricted by where you.
realize it.
Shelby, a little bit this summer when we spoke, I know through the project, there were certain things that we thought we were gonna be able to use LTFM
LTFM
for.
for, yeah.
Did we do that?
I don't know that cause there was some associated with the other building, and that probably was the transition before Jordan got here, so
Yeah.
I don't know that you did.
There was like, we were being told though that, we could use LTFM funds for like some of the fire suppression, HVAC in this building, even though it was new construction, like some of the things were being framed up as qualified.
so I make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So we owe 600 or 40,000, or 665,000 in cash to be billed. But when we paid these other bills, we just kept going negative on the accounting. We actually stole it from Peter to pay Paul, we really can't.
Yeah.
And we gotta get those funds back to, the fund
To the original.
back to where they're
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Cause you go to MDE and say, oh, well, we used LTF, well, we
Yeah.
used our literacy aid to pay HVAC.
Yeah, I just wanna get money,
Right.
No,
we got our
right.
cash that
I
we
get
owe.
it, you have cash, but when you go to put it where it's supposed to be according to MDE, like, you have to put them in.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
We don't have to like go out and pay a contractor for this, we just gotta get our funds to go back to where they need to be.
Not for the
And we
full
stole
2
from
million.
Peter.
Both,
We stole from-
both.
Right,
We pulled over here, we got that money back over to that
Yeah.
account. Gotcha,
Both, the 640,000 is bills that have not
correct.
been paid, okay.
I came on,
Yep.
I came on late, so I'm just trying to get all this all figured out.
Yep,
so is there a way to check, like how does that work with the state with LTFM for qualifying expenses? Like, is there a way
I
to,
think that's Jordan.
okay,
Yeah, there's actually new funds money that talks about it.
yep,
okay.
It's very limited.
I totally understand, but that couldn't have just came out of the blue, like there had to be some sort of substance to it, and if there's anything that would qualify that we could utilize
So
some
what
of that money
happens a
for.
lot of times if you're renovating a building,
Yeah.
there's many things you need is LTFM.
Right.
Because of the replacement cost. When you build a new building, there's very few things. you need
Yeah.
LTFM for.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure if there was anything that we
Yeah.
did or can, like
Jordan
let's
can
move
go
it
back and take a look and see if things can be, see if he can categorize things.
The crappy part is that we've paid so many of those
and
contractors.
not only, like, you can revise the numbers, right,
Yeah.
like where you code things, but you've closed out fiscal
Right.
year 25.
Right,
So you can't go back before then. So and it's not, I wouldn't say it's all bad, right?
Yeah.
Because you still need money on the bottom line. You still need cash.
yeah,
So and you'll need the LTFM funds every year, especially because we're completely using all your operating capital. So you need that money too, so it's,
Yeah,
on the one hand, it would solve, this if we could recode it, but on the other hand, you're gonna need that money
Yeah.
in the coming years, so.
cause there's things we can use LTFM for right now that are regular monthly expenses.
Maintenance, yeah,
Testing, all the radon testing, all the, yeah, you can use it for all that,
okay.
so.
So how much time do you have to get that construction fund back to get to zero?
So I think the recommendation would be at your next meeting or next couple of meetings is just to complete it and close out that. So that you're understanding your general fund budget and where you're positioned. So that probably looks like a simple motion, not necessarily a resolution, but to actually move the funds from general fund to Fund 6 to close that out.
Okay. Then our general fund just look,
And then your general fund is gonna look
It's
back.
gonna look
Yep,
real bad.
yep. But
but at least we
it
clean it up.
does, right? Like your situation is the same
Exactly.
and we're just gonna, not partition it off anymore. The situation's the same. So, so you can use a portion of, savings, this unassigned and operating capital, and Jordan will give a recommendation on what that number is at the time you make the transfer. He's reconciling December month end, I think right now. So he will have a good number on what you want to do compared to what you need to keep on your cash flow, right? On an annual basis or on a monthly basis to make payroll. So that has provided us this, so I've kind of listed off the solutions, but let me just kind of reorder these. I was thinking about the way we're doing these, but just timeline wise, but let me think about it in the way, like contextually, how we're gonna solve this, this negative. So first, we're gonna issue the capital facilities bond and solve for 640 of that. So you'll get those funds in March, you'll pay those bills, that negative will become actually negative cash, right? Negative, goes from negative, in red to just real negative cash, or, cash. Then you'll do the general fund transfer and close out, or the transfer between the construction fund and the general fund, and you'll just make the construction fund zero by paying wherever it's gonna come from the general fund. You, in the meantime, have created this line of credit with First Security Bank. So all of so we go from sort of thinking about what you have in the bank versus what you kind of get in on a monthly basis in aids and levies versus what you have to pay out in payroll. So now we have to talk about how are you gonna make your monthly bills versus how do we solve this negative problem that has already been created? How do we keep going on a month-to-month basis? So the real cash flow doesn't ever, or it hasn't in the past, reared its ugly head because you've always had money sitting in the bank. So you can just you can make payroll even though all that aid isn't coming from the state until next Tuesday, right? Like you have enough money to make that work. Well, we're now in a position, once these bills are all paid, that you don't have maybe enough money on the bottom line to cushion that cycle, which is where this line of credit was established. So a line of credit needs to be paid back within 45 days. It's a line of credit from a bank that you will pay interest on for those period of days. I think they didn't even charge sort of an annual fee for it. It's just the interest that they make on it. And so really what that's gonna solve for is this sort of monthly crunch, right? You need to make payroll on the 13th this month and your aides are not coming in until the 15th. So you can't tell your teachers we can't pay you until the state, so you get this line of credit, right? And then you pay out payroll as projected, you get your state aids in, you then pay back the line of credit. And then you may have to do that again next month, or you may have to do that in 2 weeks. And we go on this cycle, and 1 month you may not have to do that, right? Because you got in a whole bunch of levies that month then.
It'll be it'll be a wash anyways because we're paying it off every month.
Yep.
We're paying off.
Yep, so you'll
time we
incur
get
the
submitted, yeah.
minor interest, I think it was 7.1 that they agreed, the bank offered you, and that's what you'll pay, 7.1 as APR, so. So that's how you sort of manage and make sure that you operate and run as a district. And your teachers are paid and everyone is paid, so. However, you're gonna get to a point where it doesn't make sense to do that 45-day payback or that payback because projections are that you are going to be an SOD as of the end of next fiscal year. So SOD is a statutory calculation that pretty much says that you're in a position to do too much cash flow borrowing or too much borrowing, your expenditures are not there and you don't have enough on the bottom line to manage it on a monthly basis. So then we kind of look to this sort of larger solution of an aid anticipation certificate or an AAC, which gives you, it looks to your overall cash flow over the entire year, finds your statutory negative, right? And then you borrow that much against aids that are gonna come from the entire year or taxes that are gonna come from the entire year. So then you'll have that money in the bank, you will no longer need to use a line of credit because you will have that money in the bank that you just tap into.
And that comes from the state?
You are borrowing against the money that comes from the
Right,
state.
okay, gotcha.
So
So that
that is
interest
the
rate-
security.
That interest rate fluctuates depending on.
So that interest rate is just like a bond, right? You'll borrow it, you pay it back it's a 1-year borrowing. So we just issued, or we're in the process of issuing for Fridley and Brooklyn Center. I understand that Perham was just in that position to borrow.
What rate?
They got 4.1.
Something like that.
Yep.
It's better than the bank.
So, but that's what they have to pay for the whole year, right? They're gonna borrow, in Fridley's case, 12 million for the whole year. So it's
Ooh.
good, right? You have the money sitting in the bank and you don't have to do a monthly cash flow line of credit, but you borrowed 12, in your case, maybe it's gonna look like more like $1 million or 1.2 for the whole year. And then you need to figure out how you're gonna pay it back 13 months later.
It won't
So
be-
are you gonna be able to position your budget to have a surplus to get you out of statutory operating debt and pay that back in 1 year? That's not likely. When districts enter this cash flow borrowing, then you're usually in it for a series of years before you can create a surplus in your budget enough to pay it back with district funds instead of the next borrowing. Right? You can see the cycle that you get yourself into if you don't correct the budget.
When is that referendum bond payment, the big one, when is that, when was that?
So the
Yeah,
big
that-
payments in
that's sort of
2-1.
Okay,
So your fund balance today looks amazing.
Yeah.
Right? That money isn't there,
No.
you're gonna make the payment.
that's what I mean, yeah, we gotta make sure we know when all these big,
Yep.
those big ones are coming in.
Yep, and that's part of where we're, after that is when you start to get the lows, and then they'll just kind of, so it might be April, May, and we'll have to borrow there, or we might do this sort of monthly line of credit borrowing to get you into, usually cash flow borrowing happens in September, because you are positioned for the entire school year to borrow against the school year aids. You have the most capacity.
So that, when we do for the whole school year, we take the whole money up front, or do we take it as we need it?
You take the whole amount of money up front, but you don't take your whole budget, right? You take, there's a calculation that looks to your biggest negative. And it's actually statutory and IRS driven, how much you can actually borrow.
And we can't pay that off, if we wanna pay it off early, we can't?
And if you could pay it off early, we would position you to do this line of credit. The reason we're moving over to this cash flow borrowing instead of a line of credit is because the end isn't in sight until, the next year. at which point you are likely positioned to borrow again.
And with all the numbers, is that clearing out our initial savings we had? That's what that unassigned was on the, is that
That's what the
basically cleaning
unassigned
out?
is. Yep,
That'll be down to zero basically?
yes.
Okay, that'll be clear that we're basically clearing out everything we have that.
Yeah, and that's where the conversation will come a little bit with, you know, Jordan to see, you know, if there's other sort of balances to grab from, and then you just need to pay your bill, and then we get to payroll, right? And then you're like, okay, there's not enough. Then it just comes from your annual revenue or your monthly revenues.
Cash flow.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping us through that, because it's too complicated for my brain.
Yeah, it's a little, you know, it's without having been in the seat that like Jordan and Beth have been in as a business manager, it's also hard for me, but like, it's a team effort really to figure out how we get, you know, how we get to this spot, and then we need to start talking on that, you know, on that budget number. You know, are you balanced? Are you negative each year? And if that's the case, where that amount that you have to borrow is gonna have to get bigger. If you're gonna create a surplus in your budget, then that's when you start to get that number smaller. And if you do, you know, and you're projected to be an SOD as of June 30th, 2026, there's a plan that you have to submit to the Department of Education. So, you know, you can be a part of that, and this will be, you know, the plan is to cash flow borrow, and the plan is to go to referendum, or the plan is to reduce expenditures by this amount, and that's what the plan will have to say, so then you'll have to kind of make those decisions
How soon do we have to make that decision, or like when do we know,
about how much you need.
Yeah. or which route to go?
Yeah, well, I don't know that, I mean, I think you'll start to create your budget for FY 27 coming up here, right? You've revised for 26.
Not yet, we're revising probably February.
Okay.
That's understandable.
Yep, that makes sense. I think that's what Jordan said. And then you'll have to, you know, if there's not a fund balance, if there's not a surplus, excuse me, at that point, I mean, then you'll have a better sense going into your you've got to create a budget by for FY 27 by 6:30. You have to call for an election in August if you want to hold in November.
So basically after this year, we got a pretty good idea.
Actually before, because even if we passed it this fall, it doesn't
It would go into effect until next, right?
Yeah, so FY 27, I mean, that's where I was going with that, you know, once you start this cash flow borrowing, it'll take a few cycles to get out of it, and that's another one. You can't even raise revenue until FY
Right.
28.
So on this assumptions we're doing all here, these projections, are you assuming we're taking the balance of our building cost of the bills we haven't paid? We get the 640,000, and then paying the balance out of our general fund, operating fund, or is that still on
Yep.
top? Okay, so that's why we're going where we're at, because we're paying the whole construction off.
Yep.
And that's why the cash is getting really short.
That's why the cash is tight.
Okay.
Yep.
Just making sure.
Yep, I know, let's talk about it every which way, right? Funds,
So
cash.
that makes all the sense then, because we have all the contractors paid, so our cash flow is gonna be really short then.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, after we pay them.
Yep, after we pay them,
Yeah.
yep, that all makes sense.
But that'll also make it easier, cause we don't have them coming after us.
Yep.
We can
Yeah.
we can target our debt instead of.
And you've set yourself up to ensure that cash flow, you know, payroll is not a problem, right? That's going to now be the main priority. Once you have the contractors done, then you're making sure you make payroll every year, right? Or every bi-weekly. And then you need to solve the budget. So those are, you know, the order of things.
So if we didn't pay all the bills, or the dollars that are left over, you talk about judgment levy, is that still an option if we want to pay the full amount?
Well, we can go with judgment levy, I think this is a better course of action here.
Okay,
In the end, it may be cheaper too, because we can charge interest from the contractors, well, individually.
Yep.
And my guess is if the contractors close judgment against us, they would each do it individually. So you never know how that's gonna turn out.
Correct.
This way we just get it paid off and then we focus on our debt issue.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that up
So
to
after we talked, and we thought judgment levy the whole time, but after I talked with Shelby, this became apparently a better option.
Yeah, and that was part of what we went through in November and December, like, where are the bills, right? Are they one? Is it, and we plucked off kind of a one big one, but that was really a sensitive one, and that was a good discussion for the district to have, that.
But I think when we go to the taxpayers, we can say we've looked at all options too, we just didn't just say this was the option,
Right.
so we.
And frankly, the judgment levy would have been an additional tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a bit of a tax.
I was
Correct.
just gonna say, at the end of the day, we owe it no matter how we do it.
Oh, correct, I just saying, we can say, we can, in good honest faith, we can say we have looked at a lot of options, and we just didn't say, here's what we're gonna do.
So Shelby, as we get through this, do you want to look at tax comparisons per household and everything? Cause we're just gonna go out to the public and show them.
Uh-huh.
We'll do community forums after we get this set in motion. We'll do community forums in all 4 of the communities, I just wanna show it.
Okay,
Make sure they don't feel like they've been blindsided or information's been kept.
okay. Or do you wanna keep that construction conversation kind of separate from any budget balancing?
Yeah, the main thing I wanna do is show what the Alberta tax burden is going to be.
Okay.
Like you normally would with, when we move forward with the bond referendum.
Sure, we'll
This
talk
is what
about
it's gonna
just what
cost
the,
you at whatever, this is what it's gonna cost you at this valued property or whatever.
so what the solution is right now has no additional tax levy,
Okay.
none of it. It's what you approved as part of your budget, as part of your tax levy for 26 is what you're levying. None of these solutions thus far, because you didn't go with the option of the judge levy, will cost the taxpayers anything additional.
That's
Okay.
good news.
No additional taxes. Where you will start to have those discussions is if you choose the revenue route to create surplus in your budgets.
So we discussed moving forward with an operating levy referendum.
Mhm.
So that's when we'll,
Yes,
so I think that actually will support public support as well, because we're paying off these bills without increasing taxes to pay these bills off. But we do need higher operating
Yeah.
costs, or funding for operating costs.
So when you guys figure out what you think we should ask, or do we have to tell you what we're looking for, or how does that work?
it'll be a little bit of a joint effort, depending on what Jordan, the scope that you've really worked with Jordan for, and we also run a budget model. And we've used that budget model to estimate, it's a forecasting model, right? Because we could solve the problem for 28, but is that the solution you want, right? Do you wanna solve for 28, or do you wanna solve it for 10 years? So that'll be the question.
Would we, it'd be an operating referendum, I assume, right?
You could either do an operating referendum, or if the amount of expenses that could get freed up with a capital project levy, you could also look to that. So a capital project levy is a rate on your entire tax base that raises revenue that can be used for sort of anything for operating capital. So now you can pull out any technology expenses, any curriculum expenses, but you cannot pay payroll with that unless they're your IT payroll. So it's very limiting. But if it solves your problem by freeing up that much room in your general fund, it may be an okay solution for you because it's cheaper on the taxes
So is it a house, garage, 1 acre, or is it across all the acres?
across everything.
We're gonna have a hard time passing it.
But then that's got egg to tax credit too on that
Nope,
one?
no
That one
income
doesn't?
tax credit,
Okay,
but it makes
yeah.
it cheaper on everybody because you're accessing your whole tax base.
Yeah.
So
The
that's a
farmers-
comparison we'll provide.
The farmers have paid a big portion of it, you're gonna have a hard time passing it. You're
So I
gonna have a
think
better
that-
chance of doing a house, garage, 1 acre.
Yeah, the operating levy sounds good. I like the idea of the operating levy because it gives us more flexibility with those funds.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely does. We've had a few districts, Moorhead most recently do both. An operating referendum and a capital project levy. So, there's sort of different solutions there.
How does it affect like an operating referendum or levy affect commercial? I didn't realize that
It's
commercial
the
were-
same, so a $200,000 home gets taxed, a $200,000 business, it's the same
Same rate?
tax, yep.
Okay.
So, you don't get any bigger benefit out of
I didn't know they
business.
got charged more or?
They do on the other one, they do on the building fund.
But I think, if I'm looking at it correctly myself, it's doing these solutions here, I think we looked at operating levy increase. You know, when you first got on, and our projections would have been really high, I think we can get by with, if it goes that route, we request increase operating levy, I think we'd be able to go way less than what we were initially scared of, correct? That's how I'm viewing it, so.
Yeah,
Would would you say we get rid of, because we already got an operating referendum, would it be, you wanna replace it? Or would we run with two of them? I mean, cause you already got the one at $700 and some we do.
yeah,
How would, which,
That one's up soon, isn't it?
but that's what I mean, which is the best way of running those?
so
Which one's up, sorry?
the $700 per people,
Is that the operating levy?
Yeah.
The board didn't vote to extend that for 10 years?
I don't think it was up, cause it was 2017, did you do that already?
And I don't, when I say soon, I don't mean like,
Well,
No, that
was
was
like
No, because that got,
4 years.
that got lowered
Yep.
right.
to try to get the
Right.
passed,
If it got
so,
lowered, it should be a 10-year.
yeah, and that would have been in 2020,
Yeah.
somewhere in there,
So
yeah.
we got time.
right?
So that's not up to, but would you, can you be running two levies at the same time, or are you just gonna combine them into one, is my question?
What we'll do is we'll move forward with operating levy increase. So to
For an
increase that
additional-
700 per pupil, we'll go to, and this is where Jordan's gonna come in. He'll help us kind of project what he feels we need for operating costs or operating funding.
Mhm.
Once he, and just as we get to probably, I guess it's midstream, we'll do a budget revision, then we can project what our cash flow will look like. Especially taking into consideration capital facilities bond and everything. So I think it'll give us a fair idea of what we need.
So it would just be an increase then?
It'll be an increase.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Instead of
so-
running two, having two, you have one,
You would revoke and replace,
Yeah.
you'd have two options, so you'd either revoke and replace, or you'd add the second one,
Which I would say add the second one.
and have two authorities.
Because then the first one will,
illuminate.
it will eventually run out. So is that,
So you'd board renew that for
okay,
another 10 years, and then you'd add a second authority, or you just carry one question out there that says revoke. The other thing that would play into which direction you go is if you wanna add inflation. So right now, your current authority does not have inflation on it. So if you want, if you revoke the 700, replaced it with, let's say, 1100, and then add in inflation, then you get inflation with full authority instead of.
Did Moorhead do that? Did they have inflation?
I would say most districts are adding inflation now.
If there's something
Yeah.
that's a question, that's within the question
It's within
too,
the
right?
question.
Yeah. I think that was, some of those officers were shared with us.
And that's like a 2-3%.
It's between 2 and 3, but there's a calculation that looks back to what the inflation was over the last fiscal year and a portion of the current.
so then you. go-
Limited by
So
those
it
two
changes
boundaries.
every.
It changes
Okay.
every year, so you would, and you don't get to pick it, comes from BLS through MMB to MDE, and it's just on your
Should
list.
be right there.
It's not like, oh, what do you think inflation is? I say
No.
7.
Okay.
So then we can extend them for 10 years, does that mean each one could be extended for 10 years, if you
Yep.
just did an
You
addition?
have an authority, you have the board authority to extend each one by 10 years.
Or is it just you go, you do one and then you can't do the other one, or if you can do
Nope,
both?
you
Okay.
Each authority one time.
So when was that last one passed?
2020.
I think it was like around
First
then.
passing.
It was just-
It was the first time we did it because the election like passed,
Reduction, okay.
Yeah.
It was tied in with the the initial referendum.
because you had the tax rate, you had the taxes drop,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because the bond didn't pass.
It was a separate question.
Together.
So at our 21st board meeting, we'll have the resolution.
So the resolution does include in it the direction to work with First Security, so that'll be part of it, and then we'll refine that as we go.
Yeah, they'll identify them direct.
Yep, so once that's adopted, then we wouldn't kind of look, we need a new resolution if you wanted to look outside that.
The line of credit, is that for 1 year or do we do that for multiple years until we
Like
have a?
10-year draw or something.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's actually,
I feel like it was like a 10-year draw or like a 7-year draw.
On line of credit?
Yeah.
I have it up.
It
I
was-
decided to revisit it again anytime in the near future.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean, we could
quite a
resolve
long
that if the
period.
time comes. Well, we haven't used it, so we haven't paid any money.
Yeah,
So if you could get by with that instead of doing that SOD, you only have to pay interest for a few days a month instead of
Yep.
every day.
yeah, and so then part of, I mean, we just do that analysis, right? We'll say,
Right.
and we've had that with several districts where they're like, oh, we need to do our cash flow borrowing, and we'll say, well, actually, no. I don't think I remember doing this with another district where they said, oh, well, we don't even touch it, I just need it just in case. Well, you don't wanna borrow $1 million just to have it
Right,
sitting in the
right,
bank just in case, cause you'll be paying for it. Where that's where you wanna position yourself to just have a just in case that costs you only when you're using it.
Right.
Well, it's the line of credit, it's not even twice the interest rate, so you could have money borrowed half a year,
Yeah.
still be cheaper.
Yep,
Is there no option to get it on the AAC funds, it's like we did with the referendum bonds, you can't get a return. They probably prevent you from reinvesting like we did with the referendum bonds, or can we do that?
with the line of credit or with the
Or like with, if we get the aid, you know,
the AAC, then
Yeah.
it's like a locked in interest rate for 13 months, usually 13 months.
but that's the same way you get to take it a whole initial. lump sum.
Yep, that's the
And
lump
you
sum.
can't, can you touch that to invest it? I mean, that's.
Yeah, it'll sit in your general fund, so,
Okay.
So it's just
So
on the
you'll-
side general fund.
yep, it'll just sit there and then, so you will earn interest on
Okay.
it, so that is a benefit
Mhm.
of it. But yeah, you would be, you know,
Are we
you just
still
have to
paying
offset
units?
that against the,
What you owe,
Yeah.
yeah.
the what you owe, yeah.
And we might not get as fortunate as what we did with our referendum bond either, so.
No. It's
No,
probably-
those tend to be a little bit higher, so 3 years is what you have the line of credit. That's established for 3 years. That amount should not exceed 542, so I have 500 in there, but that actually is another that's the statutory. There's a calculation we did against your prior year expenses,
Based on the, yeah.
7.1, yeah.
I can't imagine a scenario where we have to pay more than $507,000 a month.
No, payroll's gonna be the biggest one, I think that's a 300 something.
Yeah,
I don't foresee an emergency coming up, I don't foresee a building emergency coming up, plus we have plenty of LTFN funds to do that.
Mm-hmm.
and that really is because we're not getting state aid for,
Right,
you know,
couple days.
couple days.
Yeah.
That really just becomes that.
Now, we get the building sold.
Mhm.
How does that affect our LTFM levy?
That'll change LTFM.
Yep.
How much does it change it a lot?
That was what I was gonna say. Okay, so that will, right? And so that's coming on in taxes payable 27. So whatever that reduction is, I think we have that built in to make sure it's level. But if there's a further reduction, we would wanna offset that if you go for an additional levy, right? An additional operating. So that, once that's sold and on the books, we want, that will reduce your LT fund because you have no more age in your building. And then those funds available, you don't have a bond outstanding on that, so it can go into operating capital.
How much do you think that'll lower LTFM?
Well, let's see how much we have in there.
I was just trying to figure out, if you figure it out per student, it would do an operating referendum, we say it's a tax. You realize $50 of that is,
I don't think it was
Offset.
that much.
I know, I'm just using that as an example.
It'll reduce LTFM revenue quite a bit initially, but LTFM revenue will creep up every year.
It'll reduce
Could
the
we-
revenue
could
when
we
you're talking
use that?
tax impact on taxpayers.
But we come back with our operating referendum, we can also say we lowered it.
Yeah,
I mean, if it moves the needle or not, but if it does, you might as well use that as a bullet point.
if I remember, cause we were talking about that at one point when this whole thing started, and if I remember right, it was not a large impact on people's taxes.
Probably not in our district because it's
Right.
only be a few hundred thousand
Right,
as opposed to millions.
right,
So
so
if you
maybe,
figure it out per student on a tax, on an operating referendum, it could be a bigger number because you're using such fewer kids.
right,
You know, so you could use it as a bullet point.
I mean, it's gonna be a savings for everybody, when that's gone, that'll
But if
be a
it's
savings.
$50 a kid, you can say, or I'll let you.
Shelby, I don't know if I told you, but we're set to close on our sale of the old building at the end of this month.
At the end of this month, yes, so we'll proactively get that on next year's levy, because it won't pick up, I think they look at a January
Operating
first.
house,
So we'd wanna just get that in place.
So we have to have an operating there from additional
So
300.
all those things are things that, you know, we wanna kind of take into account as you would then, you know, if you're looking to add revenue in the next cycle, we wanna just kind of consider that in total as we're looking at the overall, you know, tax impact.
Mm-hmm,
As far as that payroll goes, if it's like we gotta pay them out, borrow money for 2 days, can we just move payroll back a couple days? Like,
I wouldn't,
We could,
you can't mess with people's,
that should written
No.
down.
I didn't know
And
well, I
actually-
meant at the end of the contract, if it was a big deal to.
it's in the contract, the dates that they,
Yeah.
the cycle that they get paid on, remember?
But still,
Yeah.
it won't be as big a deal. Like, I like your idea because we're only borrowing for a few days.
Right. But if you had to do it for 5 years, it's-
I don't foresee
I
that.
don't know.
I don't foresee that. No, and it's gonna depend on getting operating levy increase.
If you,
Yeah.
if you're, that's meant to sort of be that short-term solution, and if we're in a cycle of having to, the only reason the district's cash flow borrowed, like, and I'm talking the lump sum, for the number of years that they did was because the state was borrowing your money. That was the state aid shift, and the state was doing so bad. If you as a district, if you're in SOD and have to cash flow borrow, you have to submit to the state, and they would not accept a plan that had you in a position to do that. They need you to, like, if you're in SOD, you actually can go out to voters more often and not in November. So like you have additional flexibilities because that's really what they want you to do. Cut your expenditures or raise additional revenue.
Which we've cut expenditures quite a bit, and we probably still have some more to do. We won't know that really until after budget revision and looking. And I do plan on looking at more cuts. I think doing that helps us with an operating levy increase, at least I hope so.
And your LTFM is only 154,000, so it's
Kind
right,
of.
Total?
yeah, it's tax decrease, right? We all like that, but it's not gonna survive amount.
We still have those reserves in there, so I mean, if anything goes wrong, which we shouldn't, we'll work with Larry Christensen this spring to do a facilities maintenance plan. So at least we can space out when we think we'll need what amount of money.
That'd be beneficial. We get that done, then we know kind of a average lifespan of what we're looking at
Right,
here.
we can project out this kind
Is there any other questions for Shelby, or did you have much else that you're looking at?
No, I think that was kind of laying out the plan. So you'll authorize that, in January. You can certainly do that. You know, if Jordan has those numbers for you, then you may as well just do that at your January meeting. To just close out that Fund 6, and then we'll just know, you know, your cash position will be your general fund position. and it'll just be all together, so.
I know, the only thing that kind of threw, I don't know if you kind of hinted on that too, you know, leading up to this, you know, we've been seeing like the 1.3 million and then you had the 2 million here, so there was some of the confusion there. And
Yep,
I
that
think
too.
you explained it on how some of the funds moved around and
Yep,
why it's at 2 now.
what you're, yeah. It's a combination of
Mhm.
what has been paid and then, like you said, you just stopped paying the bills to figure out what the position was. You were already negative at that point.
So, yeah, thanks for explaining that part, but I think that was maybe a confusing thing right away when we seen the 2 and then you explained it.
Yeah, so we can actually see our net cash position a lot better this.
Yeah, so I think, you know, it's not fun. I think you guys have got a good plan in place and we have, we've been fortunate to have some pretty regular conversations with Jordan and seeing kind of the same thing, so that'll help kind of as we establish an SOD plan or, you know, the next budget, and if once he does those projections on what he thinks, you know, usually what you see sort of as you go to solve the problem is, what do we need to solve it for today? What does our projection look in 3 years? And, you know, it's gonna be wrong, but what does it look like in 5 years? And try to get some good mix combined with tax tolerance. So, so that's where we'll come back into play and say, okay, well, this is the tax impact for, this level of fix, that level of fix.
And on here, like, I know it was asked in the past and some of the public stuff, like on your, on Eller's fees and all that, I mean, you kind of have that all listed, is that with the legal and fiscal costs?
Yep, so Peter Martin will have a fee to prepare the resolutions and then the documents with the bank. And then our fee with that, and then the bank has a fee associated with that and then paying, you have to have a paid agent, cause we'll have a credit enhanced for it.
And that's what's all tied in that 24?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep, so we're not gonna do a rating. You probably will still have a rating call and maybe get a change to your rating, but that's not associated with this issue, so we're not gonna pay the rating fee for that.
But this, I guess with Megan's question, is this doesn't affect the rating. Will this affect the bond, our own rating then, or no?
Nope, well, this borrowing is not gonna affect your bond rating.
Okay.
They do a regular cycle of
Mhm.
looking at your fund balance, and your audits, and so they may come and say, okay, the audit says this now this year, so this is where we see you. And so as people are trading your bonds on the secondary market, they're not gonna value as high, right? But none of that changes your costs right now. You pay what you pay, you locked in interest rates, they have they may see it as a less secure, it's not, right? Because it's secure, it's general obligation based on your taxes. But if their investment fund says that they can only carry AA ratings, right, you don't have that anymore, so they wanna get rid of it. But that is all separate on the secondary market.
That's on their own investment side.
That's on their investment side. You are locked in at your interest rate.
Is any other questions? And I don't.
Thank you.
Yeah,
No, you did a good job.
Yeah, thank you.
is that,
You
yeah,
got me, understanding it real well, so thank you.
okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Next time you come, just bring good news with you though.
Well,
This is good news. I mean, it kind of,
This is,
it's a messy problem.
it's better news.
It's better
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, there's some steps, but I think there's a clear picture and then you'll just have some decisions to make, so.
I think that's the important thing, we know, we're getting a vision, a better vision in place
At
now.
least one's problem done now.
Yeah, and because of the way school districts are funded, right, you have to make a decision now to levy later, to pay, you know, to fix a different fiscal year, it's gonna be a little bit of a long haul.
And I think as we go, a lot of the numbers get more clear to everybody as we go, especially after visit with Jordan again.
So
we're probably going to statutory operating debt, but then we've been addressing everything head on for the last 12 months. The state's got looked at us pretty positively for addressing this. Is, you know, a lot of the boards and all that, I think they did a good job trying to stay ahead of this thing once we saw it.
Yeah.
And then, does that help us with the state?
You're filing it with the state, right, where they would take issue is if you weren't doing anything, so.
Right, so we'll have to
They don't
develop a
approve
plan to
it.
submit with the state, but we're really doing that right now.
Yep.
So, once that time comes, we'll be prepared to file.
Yeah, you're pretty much documenting what you're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thanks, Shelby.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
nice to see you all and it's nice to meet you, so.
I think we'll see you next week, those of us attending the conference, we'll see you next week too.
Yeah, yep, I'll be there, so.
Okay. Well, thanks again.
Alright, I might just be driving circles around.
I'd be showing off that car a
Yeah.
little bit before you start to take it back.
Good. Make sure you enjoy
I
that.
saw you pulled up, and I'm like, oh, what did she do? Is that a Christmas gift or what?
That's
Looks like
not
they're paying them too
bad.
much.
Yeah. Well, we have had a good discussion, I guess. So Shelby, we can move on to our, we have the next item of new business would be open ed partnership agreement.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share this with you, and then I have it on the agenda at our
Thanks.
our January 21st meeting for approval, but this is the same agreement that I had worked out before with them, and really, if you go to the end, the exhibit where it talks about the cost, and it's that getting back to that 75-25 split of just the foundation aid, not the weighted factors. So we look at with weighted factors, we get about $10,000 per student. They're actually only gonna take 75% of the foundation aid, which they have it on here now. Of the 10,000, they're taking 6,863.
In grades. Okay, yeah, cause it says K-12 here, but we're only doing K.
We're doing K-8, yeah, we'll stick to K-8. That won't put us any higher in division.
Wanna make sure everyone's clear on that, so.
And that might change too.
Yeah.
Right now, I know they're talking about, high school league's talking about online students not counting towards your ADM when they classify your division level.
So we would be getting like 48, 50 roughly.
So 48.50 extra per student enrolled in the program.
I went online and looked, Googled open ed, and you saw even more after our presentation. Pretty cool for the things they do, you know, for the students.
They're not the only company in the country that does this. They just are more across the north and the west. Like I said, I just caught wind of it and I reached out to them. That's how we kind of got the ball rolling. I developed a pretty good relationship with Grant because he has worked with some other people I know as well. And on the back end, on my side, once this improvement gets on, I'll be doing a lot of work on the back end with their curriculum instructor and developer to get things rolling.
I don't think there's really anything else that's really.
I am ready to move forward with it. I think we gotta get, in light of what we just heard,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good creative way to generate some revenue.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like I said, I know Monaga sued pretty well. We've talked about it. We've actually talked about it a few times over the summer too. And they're seeing good success. And the other superintendents I talked to, good success with it.
And there's been good feedback from the families homeschooling, utilizing it too.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah,
So-
they're getting curriculum to use for free
Yeah.
instead of having to pay for it.
The one question I kinda had after the presentation was, he shared with us what his pipeline was, or what they're hoping to get. What if they only get like 25 kids? Okay,
That's what we anticipated. We had over 100
okay,
that quick.
okay,
We had 25 kids within the first day of
perfect.
applications. The pipeline is in the homeschool networks, and
Sure,
once they know, so a lot of the diehard homeschool networks use these programs, they pay for them out of pocket.
Mhm.
Minnesota does not, so some states give families the foundation aid, the school district normally get to pay for whatever. Minnesota doesn't do that, they give them $50. So they'll be paying for these costs, and they're pretty exorbitant. Now they don't have to pay for it. Because it's pretty much state funded.
Mhm.
Getting the word out is the whole key.
Yeah,
They're very good at that. When they open our application site, we develop a dashboard, they'll give me access to the dashboard so I can keep a constant look at it. I was watching every day, there's 5 more. Well, we started off with like 50, there's 5 more, we got up to over 100, like, no time. So,
I never thought of it until now, I guess when you read that, you read the dashboard, but can you be able to see what their grades are, like in building students too?
what
I mean,
grade
as far
levels?
as, or their grades or their actual academic grades, you know,
Well,
how
do
their
we-
scores
that
are. Does
Wouldn't really even,
that affect us?
No, it wouldn't really affect us at all.
Okay.
It doesn't,
I just wanna make sure that they're getting the best utilization out of that word. You know, if you see a student struggling, is that who's responsible?
we take care of all that.
They do, okay.
It's turnkey.
you should go on the website and read, cause all of
Yeah.
that was kind of
I
called
kind of-
out on
Pretty
there.
cool. Yeah, done it, read it.
The only thing we're gonna be responsible for is supporting special ed needs. And like I said, we'll hire a teacher to work remote to take care of that.
Once we see what the impact is, like who qualifies.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do it initially. We won't hire temp help to enrollment until we know
What we're dealing with, okay.
We may have some parents in-house that, wanna come work a couple days before school starts to start doing that. We might-
Sure.
I mean, there's so many different ways we can do it.
Yep.
I think it's a win-win for students and us, I mean.
Yeah.
That's how we gotta look at, just cause it benefits us, we gotta make sure it benefits also the students.
I'll take it.
So is that, I read that right, for like a 3-year evergreen contract,
Yep, it's 3-year, and we can do mutual separation.
but after, it's like a continuation of 3 years all the time? Unless, is that what it
That's
kinda
what,
reads?
that's what
It's
they
like-
typically do, yeah.
It's kinda nice, they know you're just not. We know we have the future unless someone terminates us.
Yeah, and it's in their best
Renew it, it
interest.
just automatically renews on it, they call them evergreen contracts.
I mean, it's gonna be in their best interest to get us as many people as possible because that's.
You always make 2
Once
more,
you roll on.
the year you're on plus 2.
They
Yeah,
will,
it's always
but they
3
won't,
years.
they won't do, like, we won't get 1,000 kids the first year,
Right,
cause that would overwhelm the system.
Yep.
for us.
right,
So they'll do that, they'll manage it. He told me, before we started talking, he told me, Tim, you're gonna get all the kids that we enroll next year. So, in other words, there's 3 districts, there'll be 3 districts down the state, we're gonna get all the kids next year.
I think it's becoming a more popular concept too, especially even lately.
Oh, absolutely.
I would agree.
More kids are going homeschool.
Whenever, which way any of us can help them to get their curriculum, I think it's a benefit for them too.
Yeah.
When the locals around here that are in it, just get it out to them, tell them to get online.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Nice. Otherwise, any other input or questions on the open ed? I think it's a good thing, and we can move on to our next new business, which is the chain of communication.
So this is something, you can't see this one very well because I actually had a screenshot. This is something I developed a while ago. You can see what's on there. It's not my district now. I would revamp this completely, but we've been talking about this for a while. I call it chain of communication because you always have a problem with people subverting what they're supposed to do.
mm-hmm,
Going around where they get the information. So what I would like to do, I'll revise this. I just want to be able to have the board adopt it, put it out to the public. If you need to find information, here's where you go first. Athletics is a big one. You gotta talk to the coach first. If there's an issue, your student has an issue, talk to the teacher first. We just need to get this in place. Some people don't know who they go to. Some people come directly to me about a problem. I'm like, well, have you talked to this? Well, I didn't know I was, should I? And there are some people that just subvert the chain on purpose.
And I've had people call me, say, what do? I said, well, you should go talk to the teacher, you should go talk to the principal, you should talk to the superintendent, and I said, I think that's the correct spot, but I like this, because now you have a hard piece of paper, so go to our website, it'll tell you right where to go. And, so I've been trying to tell people where to go with the conversations I have had.
Yeah, and what it does is it keeps you from having to answer questions you don't know how to answer. And then, I mean, nobody wants to be the middleman. If I wanna know something from Nate, I'm gonna go to Nate. You know, I'm not gonna go to Troy and say, Troy, I don't know what to do, Nate did this, nothing, whatever. No, metaphorically speaking. You know, but it lays good groundwork too.
Well, and it helps the board too, because like I said, I've had phone calls, people that I was gonna take care of the problem for, says, no, not my problem, I have one employee, it's Tim. And go to where you need to go. I says, yeah, the board's always the last stop, but we're ways off from that.
And you do see you're on here, I mean, the board is on here like, no, not true. The board's
We
on
should
there
put like
for
board
budget.
chair instead of school board.
The school board's on there for budget, and really, in reality, and the school board association will tell you that. You know, you govern the district through the superintendent. Budget is the one thing the board is overly in charge of. And that's just kinda, I got a call not too long ago, well, I'm gonna go to the board, I'm like, okay. I'm gonna go to the board with this. Okay. I don't know if you're gonna get what you're seeking that way, but, you know, it's just a way to lay ground rules
Yep.
and get information.
And I
Well,
think there's a lot of people
give
just
people a
don't,
path.
a lot of people don't know what the path of
Right.
command is, so I do like it.
I like communication, chain of communication, not command.
Oh, yep, I agree,
This isn't
that's
a
why, that's exactly why I
Dictatorship.
named it that way the last 4 times I created this in 5 different districts.
I like this, even in our training, they talk about the chain of command or chain of communication, and then, but here we actually have it right here in front of us where you can envision it, it's.
Yeah, line next says husband, next one, boy.
Well, wife will be.
I'm gonna say
Next
that.
Question on husband,
Command.
spouse.
We all know what we want, then we know the reality, right?
Exactly.
You know where that lands.
And I would sidestep all of those if you possibly could.
Just go right to the top.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for bringing that forward, I liked it.
Good, is there any other questions or discussion on the chain of communication? Otherwise, our next one was our 0.5, the title teacher, 3.4.
So, it is becoming more apparent that we don't have appropriate licensed staff to support our struggling students. We can talk about many things, we were blue ribbon school, we're always considered blue ribbon school, but in order to get back to that level, we've gotta help those that are most in need. When I first came here with Sheila Riker, who I'm gonna just put on a pedestal in front of everybody that's listening, she's superb at what she does, and she's an amazing instructional coach as well. When I came here, we were talking about programs, what we use. Now, my background is curriculum instruction. I work with a lot of different intervention programs, I know what's successful, what's not. So I suggested, let's bring on these programs to start helping these students. And we honestly get money from the state for that, through literacy incentive aid. In order to actually, so you look on here, how many students that we have that need support, it's far beyond what you can do and do appropriately. We started using, we call Core 5 Power Up, which is Lexia Learning. Just came out recently, an update to the READ Act that's highly recommended by the state. It's got strong skill training in it. READ 180 is one of the best intervention programs you'll ever get, one of the most expensive. I happen to have worked with that vendor several times, so I got it at minimal cost. In order to do it, you need another at least half a person to do it correctly. We have a lot of students, you're gonna find oftentimes when we don't have a good program curriculum, we have students that go into title support and they stay there forever.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have the right tools or the support, human support. We do have paraeducators that can help, but a paraeducator can only instruct under the supervision of a teacher. So we have a para that works with students in the title room while the teacher's working there. We need another licensed person to actually deliver instruction. This is a cost to the district, there's no doubt about it. I'm always gonna be the one to look at budget and look at the needs of our students and how are we supporting students to become successful? I will tell you the biggest stigma in the world is when you graduate from high school and you cannot read, or at least read proficiently. And same for math. Right now, we're just focused on reading, but we gotta focus on math too. So I feel as an educator first and a leader second, we're doing a disservice to kids if we're not providing them the tools. We can't right now provide them the tools that we need to without that extra support. That's just where I'll leave it there. Now, with that being said, I don't even know if we get a halftime title teacher. My thoughts are it'd be a retired person that, or maybe one of our subs, licensed subs who would like to work part-time and have more of a steady schedule. I don't know if you do now or have ever had your own children have title. It's vitally important, and it's like the segue between general education and special education where we're trying to build skills up. I can tell you, Re 180, I've seen students make 2 years of progress in a year. So 2 grade levels of progress in 1 year. Again, we haven't been able to implement Re 180 successfully because we don't have a teacher to teach it. Because Sheila's teaching all the other kids too. So,
I had a little bit of a thought on that when I saw it on this agenda. We took the 2 sections of what would have been second grade this year, right? And first grade,
Yeah.
the Deb and Mary class, and kind of switched that up. Would any of them have capacity to potentially pick up a little bit of that in their day?
I've actually talked about that. I think the only issue is it's a change mid-year.
Yeah.
Just kind of really upset the apple cart to include those kids. I'd approach that
Yeah,
and approach it with a teacher, but who would that be most confusing to?
right.
The teacher can be resilient enough, but can the first graders? That's the only problem I have.
Yeah, and like, what is that split right now? What does that actually look like? How did that end up?
I think it's just about 50-50.
50-50, it is 50-50.
And one does ELA, one does math.
Right,
And that does math, but more than just math, they departmentalize.
like if we thought through that for next year though,
That's kind of my goal.
yeah. So this, if we added this, could it be temporary?
It could
Like
be
for
for the
this year.
remainder of the school year. I mean,
Right.
that's what it would be right now, and then we'd make a decision of what we're gonna be going next year.
Forward.
We need to do some restructuring next year. We're gonna have to do some moving around because we have
That little class
yeah,
that's going
and
through.
and I hate to do that to teachers, but it's just a necessity.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
for
to
sure.
restructure again, and we're gonna have to do it until that class is in high school. But that's kind of my thought going into next year. I want to see how we can best manage it. We'll start building those schedules in probably March or April, so we have something concrete before the end of the school year.
Then, I suppose you have an idea what like a cost would be, or like when we advertise it, how you'd,
We'd advertise at 0.5 FTE. Some people I would talk to about applying, but I can't estimate costs now.
Right,
I just didn't, sometimes I've seen the advertisements, and they give an estimate in the ad, but
We would, so you don't give an estimate, what you have to do by Minnesota state law in the last couple of years, you have to show at least what base pay is.
it's basically a minimum, yeah.
And they may or may not take benefits, it would be at least half of base pay, I guess.
So like that, I think it's important. We gotta get these kids on the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
track, cause if they're once behind and you don't bring them up, they're gonna struggle.
Well, I never wanna lose track of what our ultimate goal is. Budget is important, everything's important, our building's important, but educating kids is what's most important. We don't want anybody leaving Red Rock Central saying, well, they give me a terrible education, I can't read.
That's where, I guess it's connected even the budget, but then if we can't give a good education, that affects our budget, and, it's all related in a way, but I think I'd rather have a success story.
Yeah,
I've seen it firsthand. I tutored in college and I saw people in college can't read.
so the numbers on this paper, this is daily? Kids are being pulled for title interventions, daily?
the best that can be done. And we could probably, so we do benchmarking,
I'm just
we do screening at the beginning of the year, we do benchmarking 3 times in a year. I'm trying to talk her into doing it 4 times a year, which she actually agrees with. I think that's a more relevant, do it quarterly. So there may be more kids that are
That qualify.
identified that,
I think if you get a couple kids caught up and maybe next year they don't need Title IX,
Yep, that's
I
what
think.
that's what Read 180 does. It brings them up, it spirals fast up to grade level, so that they come into intervention and go back out into class.
I think that's the best goal.
Yeah,
Yep.
The goal is not to stay in title.
Right.
So I'll have this on the agenda for our January 21st meeting for action.
Oh, is there any other, I think you did a good job explaining, is there any other questions for him on the title? Yeah, I was just kind of surprised, I think it was on, with Megan saying on the everyday numbers there, so.
Well, I would very likely have the rock star in that position. I hope she's listening because I want chocolate.
Yeah. We take bribes, which, chocolate.
No, I would have said something else, but it's not. No, I'll just say chocolate.
Alright, next new business would be the annex.
So we got an offer. I've been working with Joe on this and trying to talk to him about it. We talked about the building and went over, took pictures of it. I went inside. Not in the greatest shape. I went inside. So finally, I don't know if I convinced him or he had it in his mind, but he wants to purchase it for $2,500 because if he purchases it, he's going to move it.
right.
So he said it's going to cost him probably $10,000 to move it. So that's why I came with the $2,500. Not something we need to do closing on or anything like that. So when I sent out the email, I got a good response, but there was some questions, so I wanted to put it in respect for that person, so that we could have that discussion.
I'm on the side of just get rid of it.
I'm there too.
You know, if you just listed it, you list it for 2 weeks or whatever, and you'll probably take it for 2,500, I would think. I don't know if somebody really wants the thing.
You're thinking of like, just put it out for a bid and
Yeah,
see if anybody comes in higher.
yeah, right.
I don't think it'd be much more, if any. Plus, if this isn't for sure, I'd say.
I think the biggest issue, the only thing I can think about putting up for bid, whoever buys it's going to have to move it. Joe could buy it there, but whoever can buy it's gonna have to move it.
Right.
Maybe your fishing cabin, hunting cabin, maybe, if you wanna spend another $20,000 to move it to a lake,
He said he was gonna move it though, or?
he's gonna move it.
Oh, I see, I just assumed he was gonna leave it
Leave it
there.
there.
So
How
he'll
was
move it because it's attached to the old school, which is, won't be his property.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Just have to walk it, yeah, so.
Would it matter, like, if the property closes before we get rid of this? I mean, is there any obstacles there?
So I asked him before, because we also have the garage shed out there, and I said there are 2 buildings that we plan on moving. He said we can leave them there. You know, not indefinitely, but we can leave until we're ready to move them.
In my mind, is we try to get more, I think we're just gonna waste the time,
I think so too.
and it's a good, to me, it's a good relationship to Joe to just,
I get what you're
Yeah.
thinking though,
Yeah.
like, you
Well,
want
that's
to
fine,
maximize.
either way, I don't care. I
You wanna
just-
maximize
It's a
the,
good thought, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
I was thinking that too, but.
If we were closing on the building, I'd just rather be done with it. If we weren't
Yeah.
closing on the building, I'd say let's
Just throw it in and be over it.
So I was gonna list it for sale before and then kind of reached out to him, we started chatting, so I wanted to hold off on that. Because if he takes it, it's not gonna be him and all, he's just gonna get this done.
Mhm.
Be done with it.
Yeah. I think it's,
I just assumed you'd leave it there, which makes a big difference. If he's gonna move it, then he's got more money.
expense,
Then,
yeah, sure.
that's true.
So if the board's okay, I'll let him know tomorrow.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay.
If somebody really wanted it, you think they would have maybe asked during the whole sales we had and everything?
Yeah, the
And somebody
options
would
and
have said,
things.
right, yeah, somebody would have said something.
Here's the most interesting part. So much I don't know the old building. I wanted to find it, to go look at it, and I drove around, walked, actually, I take that back, it was a snowstorm, and I was walking around dressed in dress clothes. Couldn't find it, I'm like, I went back over, and I said, my God, the building's gone.
Oh my God.
And they said, did you look over here? I'm like, no, I didn't. So then I finally drove over there with my pickup, got out, hit the ice, and went.
It's not an area you wanna go do that, you're lucky to be sitting there for a day.
That's my baptism RRC style.
Knock some sense into you, did it?
Or not, so-
Well, I think you got a good answer there, so. Well, thanks for bringing that up. Then we'll move on to our next order of business would be shipping containers, the invoice that was connected here as well.
So we did get an invoice, I don't know why it says overdue, cause it's the first invoice I got from them. Unless they were sending, we knew before they were sending invoices to the wrong email. So that's the final cost to purchase the two together, 10,400, which in my opinion, it's not bad, considering they're both fairly cheap.
And they're here already too.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the market on those? I have no idea.
You can buy one
What they-
used for about $3,000.
If I was online, I should have put
Then
it
that's
below.
high.
What's that?
Then that's high.
You can buy used for $3,000. Shipping them and getting them on property is probably another $2,000 or $3,000.
And there's
Oh.
different grades of them too, there's some that might be the $3,000, but
I looked at them online, the $3,000, they're pretty rough shape.
yeah. There's different classes, and you have the one that was gonna be one way or was used once, and I think that's what these are, cause these are really clean.
They are, so a lot of times when you buy a used shipping container, it was a shipping container
Yeah.
before. So meaning it's probably on a boat somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
These, he buys brand new and then leases them out. So that's why he was hesitant to sell it, because then he's gonna have to replace it in his inventory. So when we got this, it was more than likely brand new.
Huh.
So if you look at that, a brand new one, it's gonna be more than that.
And where would this go?
What's that?
Where's this gonna go?
Not where
We
it
don't
is. Well, the one will stay in Sanborn, and then we'll move it somewhere in property here, but
Right.
Joe said he's not in a hurry for us to get it moved over, and we're actually gonna use it to take. And I'll email you my weekly memo, we do have a plan though, a very good plan though, for everything coming out. We're gonna use the shipping container to store some of it for the interim, and then we'll move it into the building. We'll move it out, move the shipping container over here, put it back in, whatever.
The other one will have to be moved prior to football season, hopefully. I mean, plans should be that we are practicing out there this year.
How are we gonna move them?
There's companies that move them, I mean, I don't know if anybody has.
I can't remember, Colbert would,
Culvert would be an option.
yeah, I could talk to him, I know he's like
I don't know
$200.
how heavy they are.
I
They're
think we
actually
just
not
move it
that
ourselves.
He texted me.
Empty, they're not
Oh,
heavy, but you have this, you could use a hay truck with a.
That's what I mean, I think we
Right.
can probably get someone
Yeah.
to put flat,
Especially empty,
Local.
especially if it's empty.
put
it's
a
not
truck
much.
onto it and
Mm-hmm.
get a telehandler, pick one end up and back underneath it.
Yeah, I think.
It's not like you go, especially this one, you're only coming over here with it.
You get 2 forks, you always get 2 sets of forks, one.
Yeah.
One side lift up and drive underneath it.
I'll put the forks on our New Holland.
Yeah.
I'll stand on the back for extra weight.
Yeah,
maybe.
we've got a few of us.
I don't know.
Well, we
I don't know
farmers coming over
the.
I'm just, I think you get
Oh,
somebody just to hold them for you.
lots in the backyard there.
It won't be a big-
They're really not that heavy.
No, not it.
I mean, in the long run, if we do buy them and we end up doing the shed and everything and we don't need them, it's not like we can't resell them.
Right.
We sell, it's an
I think,
accident.
I actually think it will be a situation where we always have some,
Have some,
given the
I
lack of
agree.
storage in this
Yeah.
building,
I
That's what I
agree.
was gonna say, we'll always have a need.
yeah,
Once you have it, like.
Yeah.
okay.
yeah.
Then justify the cost too, 'cause right now, if you go by the rental fees and that, I mean, it's not overnight, but over a few years, it doesn't take long.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The resale on it will always be there.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plus the resale.
Especially the shape that they're in.
Shape,
Yeah.
Well, then you'll bring this,
Are we
On the
limited in the
21st
spots that
and-
we can put them after the whole city?
Just leave it at that. This doesn't have to be approved by the board because of the amount, but if you want it on the January 21st meeting for approval, I can put it on there. It's up to you guys, how you wanna do it. If not, then I'll just go ahead and get the invoice sent, or I can put it on there for January 20th. It's up to you guys.
I
Just
go
go
ahead
ahead.
and get
Just
on.
do it.
Get it done with.
Kinda need it right now, so.
Yeah.
I don't think there's gonna be.
I'll get that done tomorrow.
Other than that, I guess when we move on, we gotta remember our succeeding meetings, which will be Wednesday, February 4th, and then our, again, back here, again, 21st, here in 2 weeks, and then next week is our leadership conference for everyone attending. We'll revisit on what, we'll get together on the plans on our schedules for next week, so.
Yep, I would use the app. The app's much easier to organize your breakout sessions. I did talk with Stacy, so they do provide some food there, but like for dinner and everything, we'll hang together, if you don't mind. And then I'll use,
Yeah, it's gonna hang on.
our district credit card, I don't know.
Do I look like I'm gonna walk around Minneapolis by myself?
We'll utilize the Skyway a lot.
I've gone there, before. My high school principal every morning at 5 o'clock would get up and go walk around Hennepin Avenue.
What year was that, Tim?
I won't be doing that, so, but at any rate, we'll use our school district card.
So, other than that, if there's any other questions, let us know. I did send that a text out to the attendees. So that I can call for adjournment. Thanks everybody for coming.